Hey guys, Mr. K here. We're going to look at dealing with celery. A short demonstration on how you can break down celery, a couple different applications. What I have here, I've got 3 different ribs of celery. We're going to look at doing a dice, and we're going to look at doing an elongated cut, a couple different ways you could use this. Now, celery obviously has to be washed and trimmed. You take the ends off of it. Where does this go? Goes in the vegetable stock pot. Now, a couple people there's different schools of thought on whether you peel a celery or not. There are many folks that do not do it. It is just time consuming. There's no doubt about that. I grew up where my mom taught me how to peel celery. It helps if you peel it and it's very thin. You can see this little tiny little stuff will come right off the outside of it. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with leaving it on there, but what I don't like about it, depending on the application that I'm using, is it gives it that stringy, fibrous taste. When you take that off, it loses some of that stringiness. I just am not a big fan of it. Depending on, again, what I'm using it for, how small I'm going to cut it, is whether I will leave that on or not. You can see where this is not as easy to peel as maybe say a carrot or a potato. I like to get it off of there, but if I'm using something where I'm going to cut it pretty thin or dice it, I might leave it on. We're going to leave it on one of these so you can kind of see the difference on what it looks like as well. It gives you a different look and appearance. Now I'm going to try to get this as close as possible so we can see what we're doing. I am going to take this and I'm going to make this a small dice. The way I would do that, I will start by cutting this into ribs. I probably will just cut it directly in half. Then I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to run right down the center of it. I'm going to run it. Try to keep it as even as possible. Now, if anybody's ever done this before, you know that it's very easy to get off track. Now I'm on this, I want a little smaller dice. I'm going to try to cut this into 3 pieces. So I'm going to start on the end. I'm going to work my way. Being very careful of your fingers. Go slow. This is not a race. I'm going to take this one. Same deal. I'm watching my fingertips. Always watch what you're doing when you're cutting with the knife, okay? Now, this right here, you've got it in a very manageable state. If you look, this is probably looking more like a batonnet size, if you can see. And then you can take it and you can just dice it. Depending on what you're trying to dice it for. It could be for a soup. A lot of times a soup, a mirepoix. I'm watching my fingers. I'm taking my fingers back as I go. I'm going to move that to the side. And again, I'm going to take this and I'm just going to do a small dice. Now, after I get cutting this right here, I want to show you an Asian flair to it. And the next 2 that we're going to cut, I have not peeled, so you'll be able to see the difference in what we'll do. I'm going to backtrack a minute. A lot of times people will just do a straight U slice on this. They won't cut it into strips. They'll just do a little cut right here. This is great for a rustic soup if you're looking for it. But you can tell, you can't see those ridges right on there. I've cut them relatively thin. They're, probably a 1/4 of an inch to an 1/8 of an inch wide. Again, this would be great for a soup right here. Now, if you just take a slight, now if you remember before when we were working with the zucchini, I've got my knife right here. I've got my celery going perpendicular into it. All I do is I change my angle. I can change my knife angle just as easy, but I want you to be able to see it. I change the angle of the food. I'm cutting across. You can cut it even more on a bigger angle and get a bigger bias. All I did was change the angle that my knife touched the food. And at that point, I've got a number of different cuts. I started on an angle right here. This you see might be something used more in an Asian flair. Things of that nature, if you can see. By turning it on a longer angle, I've got a much different looking cut. Kind of neat if you were putting that in like a salad. That would be a great application for something like that. Try to keep my cutting board clear. And then on this, we're just going to do a straight slice. Again, we're going to do an elongated. I like the elongated. All of a sudden, people think that you've chefed something up, fancied something up, where all you did was change the angle of your knife. You knew a different way to cut it. And there you go. I think that's pretty neat. Good way to use a celery. You can impress somebody again just by taking your knife and changing your direction on that.